kind of need to work on the organization of the march leading into the actual zone and how to disperse it a little bit more properly. My dispersion was a little wacky, but it's something that I'll have to clean up over time to make it more fluid and efficient as far as putting anti-air cover out to the front and what have you, and securing flanks. But it'll come with time. The objective is going to be this area here, and I'm pull my units here in formation before I start my attack. The goal is to clear this area out, and one key thing is that I learned from this game, and I'll take into other games, is this part I didn't learn, I already knew, but whenever you occupy, before you occupy area, obviously you want to saturate it and hit it with artillery to soften it up, and use smoke to screen your attack. You know, that's pretty common knowledge. But also, the second thing is, once you take an area, you want to assault into the forest and clear the forest. And then once you clear it, you don't want to hold it, because you're going to get hit with artillery. That's common knowledge that you will learn at some point, that a player is going to hit a position that had a lot of infantry in it with artillery, obviously. So what you want to do is, once you take it, you clear it out, you back away from it, and then you actually prevent the enemy from occupying said territory by saturating it with more artillery. And that's how you keep the enemy at bay. And this is actually a tactic that I read about in, I guess, a war doctrine that I was reading. But you'll see how effective it is in just a moment. Starting out, I was a bit sloppy with trying to get this organized because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to go about it. Um, but it ends up working out for the best.
Feind gesichtet. Feindkontakt.
My artillery, I believe this is mine, maybe shooting here. Alright, no, that's not me just yet. First phase is to smoke out this area just in case there are any enemies in this building to soften the approach, and then to saturate this with rocket artillery just in case there are any enemies inside.
Haben wir noch eine Frage, ist das aus? Враг в поле зрения. Противник по курсу, к работе готов. Breche Luftkampf ab. Впереди противник. Нам поворачивать? Противник по курсу, к работе готов. Враг в поле зрения.
Here comes in the rocket artillery just to hit this area here.
Противник по курсу, к работе готов.
Now the first wave I sent in is just a platoon of BTRs with squads, because you don't want to send in your whole force just in case. he gets wiped out by a single artillery strike or a single bomb. You want to send in your first wave, I guess you would say, to secure and occupy the area of interest.
Движение на горизонте! Weittreffer! Ziel zerstört!
Also, make sure that you relocate your mortars after each volley.
Я броня! Цель обнаружена! Der ging fast durch! Враг в поле зрения. Rückwärts! Verdammte Scheiße! Wir haben was abbekommen!
I've secured this first area. It's time to use my rocket artillery on the tree line here. I don't know what's there yet because I haven't reconned or scouted it, but I want to hit it because I want to soften it up for the next wave.
Wir wurden getroffen! E-Mail ausgefallen! Наблюдаю противника. Прием.
Just from the opponent's point of view. Probably make help a little bit. Why it's important to have at least a company size of units, because now I don't have to rely on waiting for my points to build up to call in more reinforcements all the way from the back of the deployment zone. I have everything I need in one push, and I can manipulate it however I need or see fit. And you'll notice my opponent has to rely on reinforcements from the back, so he can't fight this from the front. Now I want to put pressure on this back line and clear out this forest and get some infantry in there. So I'm going to start to smoke it out and push infantry in. This also helps preventing his challengers from being of any use, because if I smoke out their front line here, they can't obviously engage. And this causes him to have to move his challenger out even further to get some kind of line of sight, which will eventually put them in range of my infantry. Challenger wants to get a better shot, and he can't because infantry is right there. Reinforcements, the infantry is going to try and come in to obviously replenish this front line and move up to assault the center of the objective here. And the key is to just pepper this back line with artillery, because you don't want to occupy it, you don't want to push infantry into it, you want to keep them out of it and delay them from massing forces to reoccupy the area that was taken. And you'll see how effective this is in a couple minutes. Chile's about to come in and saturate this. And now I'm trying to get my teammate to push because I recognize we have the initiative here, and just to get him to push up and take this. And I'm also counterattacking with my reserve infantry platoon to clear out this forest, and then my teammate wipes me a little bit with his rocket artillery from being very careless, effectively reducing the effectiveness of my platoon here to nil because people just like to aimlessly shoot artillery without a purpose. Now here comes the reinforcements, because obviously you recognize that you're losing ground. This also brings me back to a point I said in a previous video, is when you force the enemy, the goal to win is in under, like I said, 20 minutes. We're at about 15 minutes here. And the enemy or the other player has to focus on using infantry. And like I said, the goal is to force the other person to use their resources on lower tier units so they can't bring in the high tier M1 Abram HAs and whatnot. So now we've effectively forced this guy to bring in more infantry so he can't focus on bringing in heavy units. And that's what I mean by making sure you create your attack in under, 15-20 minutes. And since we're barraging this back line with artillery, we're diminishing the strength of his infantry before it even gets a chance to get into combat. Now this infantry's cohesion's off, the squad health is off, and now if he tries to push with this, it'll be easier to overwhelm it with less infantry. Using my mortars to put constant fire on this tree line. Your goal is to make it as difficult as possible for the opposing team to push back, not only into your space, but into their own Because if you can spoil their attack before it starts, then that makes it easier on your defensives and your front line. The opponent's effectively losing units trying to break back into the forest to actually start an attack. Meanwhile, my units are still at good health and I'm pulling in reinforcements as a reserve to counteract any push that they might make. Teammate there peppering this tree line here, repelling whatever push was going to come through here. Problem with investing all your resources into just tanks is you're not going to push with it. That wasn't going to make any progress, but ultimately we end up losing, unfortunately. But yeah, it was something I felt was a pretty cool video to show.